Hello everybody, welcome back to the James Lawrence Allcott channel. As you guys know, I don't do many QPR videos, but when the managers go, we have a chat, don't we? We sort of check in and see what the situation is. I've literally just finished recording the Fallout, which will be out tomorrow. And I've just got a message from my dad saying, Critchley sacked. And then I've hopped on to the interweb and seen the statement from Les Ferdinand Lehoos and the club. And I think, do you know what? You know me, we talk about managers getting sacked a lot. And generally, I'm one of those guys that's like, got to give him time, got to give him a chance, got to give him time, got to give him a chance. It's interesting how maybe it's different when it's your club. And as someone who often talks about other clubs, I don't have to do that. And I would say, going through the different managers that we've had, generally, I haven't wanted them to go. I think there's very few that I've been like, enough. I really, really think there is. I mean, I never liked Steve McLaren. I never wanted him there. It never worked with him. But generally, you know, Holloway, Warburton, Beale, all these guys, I didn't want them to get sacked. And I didn't think it was fair when they did. But with Critchley, there's an amazing article by Clive Whittingham in Love for Words, which is a QPR fanzine that I read solely because of Clive. I'm actually a patron, so if you are into all that, do that. But he made some really interesting points in terms of who you're going to go after. Now, for those of you who don't know, QPR are in a quite tricky predicament. Because of the FFP fine that we have not a lot of headroom to sort of buy new players. We also have, I think, about 5 years left, and we've got to pay 17 million quid still to get through all of that. And the club's revenue streams, and all of these points are taken from this great article. The revenue streams that we have are pretty woeful at this stage, and we've got a terrible relationship with Hammersmith Council, and so the sort of changes that we're trying to make in terms of the infrastructure of the club to help build that, bring in fans, have a better stadium, blah blah blah, training ground as well. All of those things are things that, and the training ground is getting sorted out now. And I saw it the other day, and it looks like really really exciting. But in terms of being able to kind of pump money in, and those blasé comments of just going, "I'll spend some money." It's our hands are kind of tied, and the owners of the club are sort of writing off a £1.8 million check every single month just because of the situation that we got ourselves in way back when we all loved to reel off that stat that our wage bill was through the roof because we were trying to speculate to accumulate, and which is hilarious when we look at FFP elsewhere, and the fact that teams are getting completely sort of hamstrung because they're not allowed to spend their way out of it, whereas there's other clubs that seem to be able to spend their way out of it. Anyway, that's just a broader point. But when it comes back to the manager and who you're going to blame, there's a lot of people that you can blame. And I Mick Beale gets a lot of the heat for it, and I think that's understandable because a lot of the players that were there, and the reason why I was excited by him was that he had, I think, the charisma that you need as a manager for QPR, and people can laugh at that, but the point is that we're sort of a London club that has had a bit of a swagger in terms of the players that we've had over the years. And so having a manager, I think, with that element of gravitas and swagger and ballsiness, that's a word, like that ability to kind of be that lightning rod for the pressure and to sort of allow the rest of the players to play, that is something that's really important, because Loftus Road can be a really ugly place sometimes with the fan base and the general aesthetic, as the stadium's pretty worn down at this stage. And so Mick Beale comes in and he's got great charisma, and that charisma is able to sort of bring in players. He's also a very good coach. So you then start to see what we're doing. And of course, you all saw me getting excited because I felt like something was happening here. He then does what he does with Wolves, and it's literally been a car crash since. It's unbelievable. Like, the stats are outrageous. So I sit at the loft end, the upper loft. At our end, we've seen 4 goals at home all season. We've won 1 in 18, and Critchley won 1 in 12, I want to say. which wasn't a resounding, impressive victory, really, the one that we got. And I think the big problem for Critchley is that Critchley came in off the back of Mick Beale, who was this sort of charismatic London guy who had that charm. And if you like it or not, if Critchley really didn't have that. And I think that it was a real jarring of going, oh, we're hearing this guy who says us everything we want to hear, has wooed us. Okay, he's run off, so I'm a bit upset. And we've got this new guy who just doesn't have it. Like, in terms of those post-match interviews, the fit of the club and the manager wasn't totally right. And from the start, I've got to be honest, I didn't feel it. I didn't really feel it. And sometimes those things matter. You know, the managers that have done well for QPR over the years, since I've been there, Jerry Francis, club legend, obviously a long time ago, and we had a good team. Ian Holloway picked us off the ground through his personality and passion and energy. Neil Warnock got us into the Premier League. Harry Redknapp, with lots of money and a bloated squad that was kind of all over the place, snuck back up. So in terms of the moments where it's gone well, the only person actually with the real sort of calmness about him was Warburton to a point. And that's why I thought he was a little bit hard done by in terms of, you know, losing a job in the first place. The CV of Critchley is an absolutely bang on one, you know. So I think it's sort of, there's a lot of anger now at this stage to Les and Lee Hoos, and I get it. But as I say, the hands are tied of the club to a point. I think we could use our catchment area better. I think we could get more of those. Surely we could get more of those youngsters in. You would hope. Again, you don't know it all. And to allow us to have more options and to hopefully bring in more money. And that's obviously the strategy, but the players are obviously not good enough to do that. But the squad that we've got in is a young one with players that will have great careers. What's killed us here is that they came here for Beale. And then Critchley's come in and he clearly was getting absolutely nothing from them. I watched the two games over the weekend. The weekend and then on Tuesday. And the thing that I'd normally stay so far away from in terms of they don't want it. They didn't. I wasn't sure if they did want it. And it felt like some of those players were players that are important, integral, especially when you're struggling for strikers, which we don't have many due to several reasons. You need people that are going to really dig in. And we played a Sunderland side and a Millwall side who had possibly players with less talent, quote unquote, but far more effort, energy, desire from what I saw, if I'm honest. Could be just those games in isolation, but one win in 18 is just like it's not it, is it? We've got a lot of players on loan who I think were excited to play for Mick Beale and haven't been excited by Neil Critchley, and that's on Neil Critchley. And with the games that we've got coming up, we've got Blackburn in our next game at home, and then really big games because we've now got sucked into a relegation battle against Rotherham. We've got Watford's obviously going to be tough, and that's at home. Blackpool away. So really teams that are down there away from home, and we need to get something from those games. Then Birmingham, then Wigan. You know, teams knocking about us. And our last few games are pretty tricky. Sort of the running starts to get hard with West Brom, Norwich, Burnley. And we ultimately probably need about 12 points to stay up. I think generally that's my rule, is 52 points. And so I think this was the only thing that was changeable at this stage, because those players and the way that we were set up, I didn't get it. I didn't understand it. I didn't really understand what we were doing with Sam Field. I feel like there are some, without calling out too many players, but I feel like there's so much more from Ethan Laird. There's so much more from Eric Boonham. And there have been problems in terms of injuries of Tyler Roberts, Chris Willock. Ilias Chair works his nuts off every single time, and he hasn't got a lot of help with him. And we need a manager that will get enough from the rest of them to find a clear pattern of play to get us victories, to get us over the line. That's what we need right now. And I think we need energy and charisma, and we haven't got that from Neil Critchley. And the results speak for themselves. So if you can be as kind as you like, that's not even anywhere near good enough, even in 2 months. It's just not. And so they've made that move because we do not want to have ourselves going into League One, especially when we're a team where I thought at the start of the season we had a real shot, and I think we did. But those players now are in a place where they're not. I think they're in limbo, and they think, that is the problem, I guess, with the loan signings that you end up making, is that it gets to a point where they don't need it. And even if I bet to a man, I wouldn't say that they don't want to do well or win games every time they step out there, but the body language is getting a little bit ugly. And every time we concede a goal or miss a penalty or whatever it is, and that's aside from the silly errors that are not Neil Critchley's fault, I'm not seeing the response. And it's a squad that's looked exciting and able to get to, those promotion places. And then it's turned into one that now I can't see where the next point's coming from. And that has to sit with the manager. Obviously the players as well, but the manager needs to find a way to get something out of these guys. So that's the situation. Who the next manager will be, who knows? But they need a jolt. They need a jolt quick. So those are my thoughts on QPR. Gonna go have dinner. But Rangers till I die. So I'll be there. Hopefully all you other Rangers fans will as well. And we go again. Come on. One victory and it all changes and I feel so different. Please win a game soon. Please.